Hello there, welcome to Penarth Archery Club's YouTube channel. My name is Jeremy. This is the last video covering our process called TPSS, 10-point shooting system. And this is the system we use to train our new archers and also to help develop our existing members. So we have currently put up a video with an overview of the process and 9 separate videos detailing each stage of the process. We now come to the final element, which we call release, and this is actually the archer releasing the string and arrow towards the target. At this stage of the process, the archer is at full draw, maintaining their position with back tension, and have correctly brought the draw hand to the reference position prior to release. Looking at the different disciplines, bare bow recurve and Olympic recurve will have roughly the same release, whereas compounds using a release aid will be different. Those new to archery often call this letting go. Usually this leads to an abrupt jerk or flick of the fingers, with the draw in hand flicking forward, flicking sideways, or sometimes when the actual draw weight of the bow is low, they sometimes perform a dead loose, where there is no movement of the draw hand on release. In an ideal world, with the recurve shooters, we are looking for them to relax the draw hand and allow the bow string to slide out of the draw hand, and at the same time to generate a push backwards with the draw arm, using the draw elbow to come behind and down, with their draw hand running alongside their face and their draw hand finishing up behind their head. All of this needs to take place while they maintain their back tension to ensure that the arrow does not creep forward on the bow, ensuring that their head remains stable and their bow hand remains relaxed. This part of the process is not easy for beginners to understand and execute, and often more experienced archers still need to work on their release of the arrow. When dealing with bare bow and Olympic recurve archers, we often put a hand up behind the draw elbow when they're at full draw, and ask that when they release the arrow, they concentrate on trying to move their elbow back to hit the hand that is approximately 2 inches behind their elbow. This is to promote a rearward movement of the draw hand upon release, and to stop them collapsing and flicking out to the side. With recurve bare bow archers, obviously their reference position is slightly higher on the face, but they will still follow this process of pushing back with their rear elbow when relaxing their hand to get the shot away. With compound archers, it's dependent on the type of release aid being used, but again, the process is pretty much the same, relying on back tension to hold the bow in place, and they then are in the position of having to squeeze the trigger of the release aid to get a smooth release, ensuring they don't punch the release aid or flick the release aid trigger. Because many modern compound bows have a very high let-off ratio, so that the actual archer is holding quite a low poundage at full draw, the archer has to ensure that they keep the back tension there to enable a clean release when they trigger the release aid. At this stage in the release, the bow limbs bring the string forward with the arrow attached. The arrow detaches from the string, heads downrange to the target. The bow will hopefully punch forward slightly, and we remind the archer to maintain their position, keep the bow arm up until the arrow hits the target. With the arrow hitting the target, that is the end of the process, and the archer needs to reset and go through the process again for the arrows in that end to be shot. So when we look at the overall process, you can see that certain stages early on in the process set the pattern ready for the draw, the reference and the release. For example, placing your fingers on the string, number 4, is where we ensure that when we are at reference that our draw hand has not moved off the string or as the incorrect placement of the fingers, as that will then roll on and affect the release of the arrow. Setting the bow hand grip, and then when raising the bow in the elbow section and setting the grip before drawing will ensure that the correct tension and placement of the bow hand contributes to an accurate shot. The overall objective with TPSS is to give new archers and existing archers a breakdown of the process of shooting an arrow so they can understand what they need to do. They can easily spot the errors that they're making and learn how to correct them, and also to understand how the various actions during the separate stages of the process can impact on the overall success of the shot. While the archers are mastering the process that we suggest, TPSS, there are obviously a number of issues that will need to be taken into account for successful shooting. Simple matter of correcting aim, adjusting sights, and also the more involved matters such as selecting the correct equipment to enable them to achieve their result. As a sport, archery is one where the equipment does need to be matched to the archer, and this is something that I hope to pick up on some future videos regarding choice of equipment and basic setup of the equipment. And that concludes the video sequence for the 10-point shooting system, TPSS. We hope you found it beneficial and of interest, and it would be very much appreciated if you could hit the like button down below and possibly subscribe to the channel to see our future videos coming out. Thank you for watching.